O'Brien, and you're watching the Virtual Cantina Network.
That should say Katie Badass O'Brien. Just saying.
Right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hey,
nickname.
everybody.
Excellent. Hello, everyone.
Wait till people start trickling in a little bit.
Yeah. Welcome to Daughters of the Galaxy.
We are
March
here.
edition. Here we are.
I know. First week of March already. Like,
Can't
the
believe
last
it.
2 months have been eternal, but
They really have. But at the same time, I'm like, wait. How is it March already? Hold on. Like, I just thought January was going to last for 6 months.
oh my god, it is eternal. This whole winter has been eternal, as you can tell by my delightful voice this evening.
Same. Where you've got the nasally, froggy voices going on here for y'all today. We coordinated that. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah. So I'm going to start by saying Jamie is on hiatus. We miss her, and we hope everything's okay. But hopefully she'll be back with us soon. Yeah.
Yes.
And hope everybody's doing well. But filling in for Jamie tonight is our girl Sarah Barnes. You've seen her in the chats.
Hello.
She's one of our biggest chat supporters, and we really
Chatty
appreciate
fan.
her.
Chatty fan. That's me.
Totally love her. Thanks for stepping in tonight, Sarah. Oh, thanks
Thanks
John.
for having me. Super exciting.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, Anna. Yeah. Just letting everybody trickle in a little bit here before we get into our discussion this evening. I'm really excited for this.
Good. Me too. This was the bit that sold me. I was like, oh, Andor. Yay.
Oh yeah, these ladies are phenomenal. Like, I've never had such like a compelling cast of badass ladies in a Star Wars before. So this is like
it
really
awesome.
Was
a first. It really was groundbreaking in that way. So
thank you, Anna. Yeah. I'm trying. Yeah, we're both like recovering from the plague, and we both sound absolutely delightful, but we're gonna do our best this week.
Yes, we will.
Oh my god, yeah. Season 2, we're like literally counting down the days until season 2. Like and Sarah's like, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to hear anything.
I know I'm the worst. If y'all are here for like spoiler or trailer or interview, I'm sorry, I'm being a wet blanket. The more I care about something, the more excited I am about it, the less I know about it going in. It's a weird little quirk of mine. I apologize, but
no. But when you go into it, it's gonna blow your mind. So
yes, all the excitement, all the things.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be a long month.
It is. I really think so. I've been waiting so long for it, and when they announced it, I was like, oh, it'll be here before we know it. And it's really not. It's taking its sweet time.
Yeah. So we can kind of talk about it without talking about it, just saying that like what they did show was phenomenal, and if anything, it got me like all the more excited because they're covering 4 years of Star Wars in one season.
Yeah, I really read about that, and it was in prepping for this, I read and reread found a bunch more interviews. I was texting my son. I was like, send me interviews about Andor. And it was Diego Luna and Tony Gilroy while they were filming. They were in the middle of filming season 1, and they went to a local pub. They went to a bar. I think they were up in Scotland at the time. I can't remember exactly where they were at. And they started talking about that when they originally pitched it to Disney, it was going to be the full 5 seasons. And that was what they signed on for. And they started talking about it, and they were looking at how long it was taking them. I mean, they kind of started during the COVID precautions and everything. So they were looking at how long it was taking to write and produce and everything else. And Diego's like, it's going to take us 15 years to do 5 seasons. Like there's no way. He's like, I can't even, I'm going to age out of the role.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh. So how young he was in 2017, 2016.
Yeah. When the movie came out, and I think they've done a really good job so far, matching character, kind of making him longer haired and more scraggly, kind of leading up to the more polished look that he had in Rogue One.
Oh my God, girl. There's some polished looks going on in this season. Without spoiling anything,
Yes.
the boy is
Oh,
polished.
good.
So you'll be happy.
Good. Yeah, that's
Like
great to
it's
hear.
unnerving because we're used to Cassian being like scruffy and like kind of like getting by in his
Mhm.
wits and being stuck in the rain and the mud and everything like that and the sand and
Yeah.
like I don't he's up to no good.
Oh,
But I
that's
was
great to hear. I'm super excited.
I was
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm really
scruffy
looking forward
looking
to the
nerf
format,
herder.
though.
Exactly. Jeff in the
I'm really
in
looking
our
forward to the format. I really think it's going to be great the way they came up with it. They condense it and then they have this negative space between each of the years. That they were talking about, like you said, they're polishing Andor's look, and the actress that plays the Bix Kayleen was talking about what it was like to have to age. To age a character going through it and
yeah.
everything. So
And
I'm
she's
really
young.
excited.
She's like early 30s. She's like
hmm
32.
hmm
So
Yeah.
it's like we got to make sure everybody's like looking like they would be in Rogue One after this. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
having
However
like
many of
3
them make it
episodes,
that far, right? Yeah.
not I'm so nervous. I don't want to like anybody and just be like, "Oh, damn. Okay."
That was the
Like,
hardest part about getting into Andor and agreeing to watch the show, is that I was just wrecked at the end of Rogue One.
oh
I
yeah.
did not know what to expect going into that. We were living overseas. I was completely away from my network of nerd fans, and we just wandered
Oh,
into that show, and I came out completely traumatized. I mean, it was years, I think, before I could watch it again. Every time Jay brought it up, he was like, "Hey, you want to watch Rogue One?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to watch everyone die again. Why would I want that? What's wrong with you?" So it was a hard sell to get me into Andor, and I was like, "Really? So now I have to like re-fall in love with these characters all over again, knowing what's going to happen to them?"
oh
But
yeah. I do dumb things like kind of talk myself out of it. Like, oh, maybe they won't die. Maybe they just go into hiding. Maybe
mhm,
they like
mhm.
just become like a deep part of the rebellion and just aren't seen again. Kind of like,
There you go. There you
that's
go.
what I was
Yeah.
hoping happened. Like like when I watched the end of Romeo and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann one, I hope to God that like she wakes up before he takes the poison and he gets the letter from the messenger. And like honestly, none of that changes. I should know
You
by
keep
now.
hoping. You keep hoping.
We
Yeah,
just
I
keep
know.
hoping.
I
But,
know. Yeah. So it's a real testament to the show that I managed to not only enjoy it, but be able to rewatch it over and over again.
oh yeah.
The most recent time was over winter break. My oldest son is away at college, and my youngest is in his first year at community college and still living at home. But Tyler, the youngest, had not seen Andor. He'd kind of popped in and out, but he hadn't watched it from beginning to end.
Oh
And oldest
man.
is obsessed with it. So we got to sit down and binge watch it all over again with someone going through it for the first time over winter break. So that was a lot of fun. That was a good time.
Yeah. I had Alan watch Rogue One last summer and he really liked it. So
Okay,
we've just
good.
started Andor. I think we're like 2 or 3 episodes in, and it's
Ooh,
just
perfect
starting to
timing.
get crazy. Um,
Yeah.
so we're liking it.
What does he think of it so far? Is he into it, or is it kind of a struggle?
It was a little bit of a struggle at first because the episodes are so long and there's just so much like information and the world building is there. But as
Mm-hmm.
soon as like, the pre-Mor guys came through with Cyril and everything, and uh, Tim got shot and Bix got, brutalized. It was just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is just the beginning, man. This is just the beginning. So
It gets worse. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm
Okay.
excited for him to watch the rest of it because it's so good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so Jeff says, anyone thinking Felicity will make a cameo? I don't know. Maybe part of Saw's team. Maybe
That
that'd
would
be
be
cool.
interesting.
But
Did
she
I?
was
Was there
16
a? Okay.
when she
I was
left
gonna say,
Saw.
was there? Yeah. Okay.
Maybe see a young Jin. Recognize her from the
Yeah.
braids.
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe they can find another young actress that would look similar to what she looked like at that age. That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I
And
wonder, what would be really fun. This is where my brain goes. It would be really fun if Andor was the reason, if he was just badgering Saw and like, for God's sake, she's 16, leave her alone. What are you doing? Like he was the impetus for why Saw took off and left her.
yeah,
That would be kind of fun. I like
He's-
those little
he
weird
said some
quirks
of
thrown
my
in there.
men were starting to find out who you were,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
he had to hide her because those
Yeah.
men have no scruples, and he knows it, and yeah, so protecting Jin became like a priority for him.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, we're gonna jump into our episode tonight. So we're gonna do this over the course of the next 3 weeks, or next 3 shows, I should say. We're gonna talk about the women of Andor, the women that we've met thus far in the season 1, and we're gonna talk about. We'll kick things off with the comparisons between the 2 moms. So on one hand, we have the legendary Marva Andor, who like you just meet her and you think she's like Cassian's nagging mother, but then you learn so much about her as the series goes on, what she's about.
Right.
So, yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about her?
I think probably what struck me most about Marva Andor is how unusual it was, particularly in a Star Wars, to meet a character when they are that elderly and that ill. You know, I think what struck me first was what a fantastic job Fiona Shaw did in portraying someone who was really struggling to move, you know, and that and that her and B2 have kind of aged together. You know, she made a reference, Fiona Shaw is this kind of like the old family dog, you know, the dog who lived the whole life with the family, and Marva needs her meds, and she keeps the house too cold. And if you've ever dealt with Asian parents or grandparents,
it's my mother. Yes,
it felt very familiar. Like I was like, oh, I know this music, as soon as it started. And to meet someone who is already at that point in their life, it harkened back to the Return of the Jedi scene with Yoda and Luke when he goes back and Yoda is declining. But we had seen him where he was still a little bit feisty and sprightly before, So look, there it is. Mark showed up. Hello there.
Hi, Mark. Battle of the buttons. This is why you should not learn how to push buttons.
Too many clicks.
Buttons. I'm good with that.
Too many clicks in the button.
Neutral. I will remain neutral.
General Van Olen, how are you, sir? I hope Toy Fair went well for you this weekend. But yeah, it's you see Marva and you just think she's a mom, and Cassian's kind of careless, and he should be. And everyone in town is kind of like giving him shit for like not caring about her and just running his schemes and everything like that. And it's like, oh, the house is too cold. I'm checking in on you. Have you checked in on your mother? How's Marva? Like everybody's just.
Well, that's what's so brutal, is that you kind of get that impression that he's done this before, everyone from, Karen to Bix to everybody else is like, oh God, what is he bringing home now? He's the troublemaker, he's the kid who's always getting into trouble. But we know he's in serious trouble this time, and that he is trying desperately to get away from his mother to protect her because he does not want to bring it down on her. Right.
Right.
And so I really was fascinated as the character evolved over the episodes, that we went back in time and we saw where Marva had come from. Because at first you just think she's kind of a sweet old lady. That's where we're going from, is she's the innocent mom. And then as time goes on, we learn that it's very different, from what at least I initially expected.
So as it goes on in the series, we see Marva and her husband Clem, who are scavengers, and they go to all these
off-world scavengers.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to like Ferrix is a salvage world, but they're like off-world, out hunting, looking, like
I can totally see why they settled on Ferrix, knowing their line of work and like the scrapyards and everything, and how much.
Well, I wouldn't even be surprised if like that was a base, right? Like they launched from there to go find other stuff. We don't know for
absolutely.
sure.
That's why the shipyards are so popular.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But her and Clem going scavenging on oh my God, I'm forgetting the name of the planet. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Kenari. Yep,
Kenari. Right. That's what it was.
So they end up on Kenari, which has been decimated by the Empire. There was a mining accident. Literally, all the adults were made to work in Imperial mines, and they all died, leaving the children.
We found really interesting. We were breaking that apart. The crew that crashed when Marva came to Kenari, they were wearing separatist uniforms.
That was so crazy.
So I thought that was really interesting because, when they talk about the records, they talk about that the Empire had an accident, declared it, so I was like, okay, so was it the Republic? Was it the Separatists? Was it the Empire? Did they just kind of, take over in the history roles, and like anything that happened in the past is now the Empire did this, as opposed to that was just a weird little tangent thing. It bugs me every time that scene comes up. I need like Pablo Hidalgo to like clarify the timeline here. When exactly was this? Who did this? What happened?
Yeah, it's we see like a lot of like Imperial stuff, but they're wearing separatist uniforms, so I'm thinking it's just about during the fall of the Republic.
It's kind of what I was thinking too.
Because Cassian kind of like, Luke and Leia, they just kind of rose with the rebellion,
Right. Right.
But,
I mean, she even says that, the Republic doesn't take kindly to this, whatever happened here, they killed, the Republic's going to show up and they're not going to care that they're kids. And I was like, wait, the Republic? Hold on. Wait, what? So, yeah, there's a whole lot of interesting story there.
I just,
and what I loved
at his face in the glass.
He was so angry. Yeah, for the first time that he'd never seen anything like that. And I loved that, he was expressing all of this anger and frustration. And, Marva just got this look on her face. Like, she's like, I get this kid. Like, I understand where he's coming from. That the reason that they wanted to, Tony Doris, the reason he wanted to have this kind of, off the grid world, that didn't have a whole lot of connection to the larger Star Wars universe, is that they had to explain why Diego Luna's accent was different from everybody else's.
Right. That was pretty
but
brilliant.
I loved that, because that would make sense. I mean, he was raised by Marva and Clem for a long time, but that he still had those, those roots up until, how old do you think he was? Like maybe around 8, 9?
I'd say he's probably like 11 or 12.
Oh, really? So, okay.
Yeah, he's lived with them probably a good, I want to say 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. He's got to be like in his early, late 20s, early 30s, something like that.
Yeah. So having, first of all, she realized, like, she sees his pain, she sees his grief, she takes pity on him, and she realizes that they're coming. They're not going to, as you said, they're not going to care that they're kids. She has to, it's like, she kind of took pity on him because she recognized, like, these people destroyed their lives. Like, the planet is gone. The parents are gone because of the, this evil thing. And she takes pity on him and takes him away. Like, not caring who else he may have it behind. She's just like, no, we got to save him. And Clem's just like, oh. But she ends up bringing him back to Ferrix. And he learns how to scavenge from Clem and learns how to be a good man. But kind of, I don't know, it kind of falls in with like the scrappers and the people who are temporary in town, and ends up kind of cheating out his friends in the meeting in the meantime. So,
well, I always think it's really interesting. A lot of, as we're talking about drawing comparisons between the different smaller characters, I think a lot of, at least for me, a lot of what I perceived is the differences between people who you would think are kind of fundamentally similar is their circumstances. That Marva grew up, lived, worked, survived in the Outer Rim, whereas Edie is Coruscant, Deidre is Coruscant, Bix is Ferrix and Outer Rim. Their circumstances made them very different, and to me, what I saw in Andor, both as what he lived like as a child after the mining accident, and then also how Marva and Clem raised him on Ferrix, was he always wants more. What else can I get? That's the life of a salvager. That's the life of a scrapper. What can I get? What can I find? How can I get ahead? What's the next big score?
Who can I pay off this person to get out of here and just live with my mother somewhere else and get away from this madness?
Yeah, exactly. I've got to go out and I got to find it and I got to take it for myself, because it's not going to just be handed to me. We're not going to just manage to live in a nice mid-level apartment somewhere in Coruscant,
Yeah, eating cereal. I know, it was so gross. It was so gross.
It was the worst. But I also loved between Marva and Andor, even as they got older, even as they were having a bit of a row, when he came home and they were scrapping at each other, there was like an understanding and there was an affection, even though there might have been frustration, some angst, some high emotions running. All he had to do was walk in and she's like, oh, what did you do now? Like she just knows him.
But she can read his desperation. Like she may not have given birth to him, but she can read him. And obviously she knows him well enough to know that he's been in some scrapes in the past and has gotten into trouble, and people have probably come to her and been like, your son has been up to, yeah. So,
but she never turned her back on him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Even though he's earned this reputation of being a bit of a troublemaker. And in that way, I kind of really respect that about her, is that she did her best. It may not have been the most ethical decision to kidnap a child from his planet while leaving everybody else behind and running off and faking his papers and saying he was from, Fes or whatever it was. But she did the best she could. To me, their family was a family of love. Her and Clem and Cassian were a family of love. And even though he's grown up this way and that he's kind of built a bit of a reputation for being a troublemaker and causing headaches, she never tried to stop him from being who he was, right? Like it was, you are wild, you are a little ferocious, you are a little bit of a troublemaker, but I love you anyway. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to back you up and I'm going to help you out when you need it.
Do you also think that Clem's death, especially in such a horrible public way as being like hung in the brickyard, was absolutely horrible? And do you think that had some kind of impact on him to just be like, that's it, we're just getting out of here?
Oh, how can it not? Do you know what I mean? I can't conceive of what it must have been like for a young person to witness something like that happening right in front of them, and I think, as we have here in the comments, thinking about Marva's speech and tearing up, you think about what she had to live through in her life, how much she had to swallow, to continue to live in that community, knowing what had been done to her husband, that it finally got to the point where she was just completely fed up. Like she said, we've been asleep. We've been asleep this whole time, and we need to wake up.
Anna says, every now and then I think about Marva's speech and I tear up. Yeah, because it's so cohesive to like.
There's not a lot of soliloquies in Star Wars. Most of them
especially
are
in this one.
conversations. There's a few, but I think probably two of the best speeches, the individual speeches I've ever heard in the Star Wars universe are from Andor. And Marva's is, at least for me, is one of them.
Yes.
It's really interesting. What do you think about what you were saying about Cassian's drive to get off of Felix and get out and run away and find that big score? Do you think that's from his childhood, Clem, a combination of both?
I think it's both. Like he realizes how much Marva has sacrificed for him and how much loss they have both endured on this planet and at the hands of these people, and he's just tired of it. He wants to make enough money to get out of debt and just get out of Ferrix and live comfortably somewhere semi-tropical, as we suddenly know in Star Wars, thanks to Rogue One in this show that it exists. So yeah, the beach,
the Happy Neamos beach planet.
Yeah, so it's been a lot, and I can realize, like, I can recognize the need for escape, and I think Marva does too, because she understands him, and she's like, okay, but you got to stop getting yourself in trouble. Like, this is the life I've chosen. These are our people.
What do you think about Marva's decision at the end, that when he finally shows up and he's like, this is it, this is the big score, I have the money, and she says, no, I'm staying here. Like, he finally reaches that goal that he's been striving for all this time, to give him some place safe and quiet, and she says, I'm not going.
I really think it was a hard thing for him to swallow, because obviously she was a scrapper for so many years. But when some people, when they go through that significant of a loss and they build up that life, it's just easier for them to just stay put and just stay kind of in mourning. And I think Marva, some part of her is still in mourning, even though she's a revolutionary. But I can say it right now, like, my uncle lived in his house exactly as it was while his how it looked while his parents and his brother were alive, and he didn't change a
Wow.
thing since like the
Mm.
70s, and it was
Wow.
just hard for him to like to do that. And I think kind of Marva went through the same thing. Like, this is our home. This is
Yeah.
a part of Clem is here. Like, Clem's spirit is here. He
Yeah.
died in the square. We need to stay where we're tied to. And
hmm
Cassian's just like, everything's going to hell. Like, get out of here. And that's where they
Yeah.
clash.
Yeah.
And
I think for me, I think part of Marvin knew she was dying at that point. I think she knew
yeah,
she was not gonna make it much longer, and that this was gonna be her final stand. And if she told Cassian that, if she tried to explain that to him, he wouldn't go. And she
oh
needed
yeah,
him to get out because she didn't want him to get caught by the Empire. Like that was,
yeah, he
I
was in
mean,
deep.
from all the way back from when he was a child, when she took him away from Canary in the first place, was to keep him from getting caught by the Empire. You know,
Yeah,
like she's worked her whole life to make sure, especially after Clem died, that the same thing didn't happen to him. And so part of it was, she's like, this is my home, but also she knew if she left, she would never ever come back either. You know,
exactly. And
and
it's hard when you're
that
so bonded to a place.
yeah, she wanted her death to have real meaning, and she wasn't going to be able to do that somewhere else.
John says,
Oh
I think the
yeah,
Empire had taken so much from her, she wasn't willing to let them have the one thing she had left before she died.
I
Absolutely,
think
John.
that's a
That's a
good
very good
point.
point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but that's just what kind of gave, I think it gave Cassian the rebellious spirit too. And also the
Mhm.
final push to kind of like stop being a screw up, stop being a con artist, and do something productive with your life like we have. And it gave him
Yeah,
that shove in that direction. And her final
yeah.
stance at the the standoff in the square where you see the projection and she just goes, fuck the Empire. It was just so cool.
Yeah,
So
that
cool.
was
I wish to God they hadn't blurted out because I would have been like, yes.
me too.
But as it was
That was
still really
quite the
cool.
line. That was quite the line.
Yeah.
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 Well, it is for us anyway,
I want
right?
that on a t-shirt, John. Right
And I
there.
love the
Yeah.
fact that Bix was able to see Martha. You know, I was watching an interview with the actress, and she said that she really feels like for Bix, Marva was like an icon, you know. And she made the comment that we don't ever see Bix as family. We don't see
Yeah.
siblings or parents of any kind, you know, and her and
She's
pass
alone.
each other probably their whole lives, you know, forever, for 20 years. And so it would almost be like Marva is like the mother figure she doesn't currently have,
Right.
you
And
know.
an
So,
inspiration
and
to
I
like,
guess,
yeah, just be part of
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and that she was a daughter of Ferrex, you know, that it was an organization and she was a past president, I think, past leader.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knew Marva, you know, like you said, Cassian shows up and everybody's browbeating him because he's not taking care of his mom, you know.
Yeah.
8 people have been like, I checked my mom, have you? You know.
Like when other people are like, is your mother taking her medication? Like, you should have a little bit of shame in there. Just a smidge,
Everybody's all up in everybody else's business, you know. Yeah. And I think that that was kind of the final, like you said, his mom's dedication and her speech made him, and the way that everybody responded to it made him realize that those connections matter. And while they may have rolled over when his father died, while they may have just let the Empire come in and start torturing people, that there is a way to make a spark happen. It doesn't have to be every person for themselves. It doesn't have to be
right.
scrap and fight and just take what you can get and be happy with that and run away.
Rise
that
up.
You can make those links and connections, and you can build something out of it. I think that was, like you said, it just finally kind of turned the light on and made him realize, hey, maybe I can't do this. Maybe we can do it.
And then on the other hand, we have Edie Karn.
Edie Karn.
Oh, she is something else, this Edie Karn.
She's a piece of work.
Swear to God.
She
Oh my
is a
gosh.
piece of work. I agree.
She is Queen Nag. She is played by Catherine Hunter, who played Mrs. Fig in the Harry Potter movies, for the Potter fans. So as soon as I saw her, I'm like, it's Mrs. Fig. Where's the cats? Like, it was just really wild. But her voice, just the nagging, and you see how like uptight Cyril is and how he's just like
Mhm.
internally just like boiling every time she talks because
Yeah.
she's just on his case so much, and it's
All the
but it's
time.
never
The
for anything
constant,
good.
yeah, the constant negativity, right? Just
Yeah.
this verbal and psychological barrage,
Mm.
and yeah, when he takes that tumble from the Primor Corps because he caused a disaster and got them kicked out by the Empire, he has to go back home to it, and you can just see him bracing for it, and you know that this has been most of his experience with his mom. I
Yeah.
mean, if not his whole life. Okay, so John, I agree. Stereotypical, overbearing mother. I wouldn't even
Yeah.
call it stereotypical. Like this is like top notch, top shelf, high quality. Like really, that
This is helicopter mom or
gone
X-wing mom.
wrong.
I don't know.
Like
Yeah.
this is like Black Hawk mom. And so I had to go in digging into this character and find out about it. And I read a really interesting article with Kyle, the actor, and Catherine. Apparently, because they were going through COVID protection and everything, didn't get to spend a lot of time hanging out with each other during the filming. It was only when you were in sets and everything, and so everybody was kind of on their own, coming up with a backstory sort of thing. And it turned out when they finally got to do their scenes together, both of them had come up with a very similar backstory for why Edie is the way that she is, and it's that her husband took off in a very acrimonious, nasty way when Cyril was young. And so all of that pain and all of that anger and embarrassment and frustration of him leaving just comes out in how she's trying to control and manage and raise her son by herself.
And
All that
boy, can you tell. Oh my God. She is, when things with Primor go sideways,
Yeah.
she lets him know. She basically gives him like a straight verbal lashing of how she is disappointed in him, how he's a failure, how he's ruined the family's good name that she's worked so hard to uphold all these years. And it is the complete opposite of Marva, because Marva, despite all the trouble that Cassian gives her, Marva is always proud of things that Cassian has done. And there's so much love there. Meanwhile, like Edie is just like straight up like disdain for her son unless he's
She physically
reflecting
slaps him.
positively on her.
This is
It's
the
like,
first thing she does when she sees her son in how long. She hauls off and whacks him in the face. And I'm like,
yeah. I bet you Mara wanted to, but she didn't. So I'm just saying. But
yeah, no. I mean, and so that to me is why it really made sense when you thought about the backstory, because she made mention of the fact that he'd never come back to see her, how long Cyril had been gone, blah, 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 blah,
oh, of
blah.
course.
And that he was like, well, you could have come to see me. And she's like, oh, please, I don't leave Coruscant, And so to me, it made a lot more sense that that's probably what she wanted to do to her husband, was that he left. And then Cyril left and didn't come back. And so her immediate reaction was, you left me. How dare you? Yeah. It was just,
But not only did she like, hit him, but it's like she's been on his case to find a new job and like working her network of people to kind of put in the good word. It's just like, woman, take a breath. Like she's complete.
To me, she struck me as something that I really struggle with, because I know there are people in other families that have this, is that to her, love is very transactional. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Is that it's like when you love someone, you provide a good home for them and a proper upbringing, and you make sure they always have good hygiene and they look presentable when they go out, and they respect the family name, and you honor your family, and you do all this kind of stuff, and then they love you in return, and they do as you say, and they're polite and respectful, and they bring honor to the family by elevating themselves to get noticed in society, and and I just, that's
and it's Coruscant. Like we all know what Coruscant is at this time, and the BBYs. So it's just to be like the cream of the crop in Coruscant is like her dream, and I feel like as soon as the Primor stuff gets botched on Ferrix and things go sideways, and Cyril just can't leave it alone, she is so full of rage because she knows high society is going to look down on her failure son and on her as a failure too because of him.
Yeah.
And it's just the complete opposite
Well, yeah.
of
And I kind of always got
Marva.
the impression that she never wanted Cyril to go do Primor anyway.
Right.
Because it was out in the outer rim, right? It wasn't here in the core planet in the center where you can get noticed. And she wanted Uncle Carlo to get him a job, right? That's how we do things around here. And he tried to strike out on his own, and of course failed. So I have an interesting question for you. I don't think that any of us would argue whether or not Marva loved Casa as a son. Do you think Edie loves Cyril? Do you think she is a loving mother?
I don't think, and I'm going to speak from a bit of experience here of things that I've seen in my life. I don't think she wanted to be a mother. I think it was something that was expected of her because of society. Like, you're supposed to get married to a well-off person in a position of power, and you're supposed to have this family, and they're supposed to make you
Then the
proud.
husband leaves, right? And then
So
you're on
she's
your
already,
own.
yeah, she's already like, strike one is already there. Like, the husband left, abandoned them. So that's a no-no for high society on Coruscant.
Sure.
And then strike two is the Primor thing and everything going sideways and Cyril ending up without a job and being in disgrace. So
I thought of it that way.
she's kind of stopping him from strike three. She's like, okay, I'm putting all my chips on the table here. Getting you this job. Don't screw this up.
Interesting.
And she cares so much about what other people think of her that it is everything. It is even more than her son's well-being, or like her son literally causing a riot to be noticed in this thing. It's just so I don't think she loves him. I think he was just a part of the deal.
Part of the responsibility, right?
Yeah, it was something that was expected, and she didn't want to say no. So
fascinating. I hadn't thought of it that way. Interesting. So yeah, it is a pretty obvious divergence between the two. And yeah, as Sherry said, I'm interested to see if we're going to see any more of Edie in season 2. We know Marva's fate. It'll be really interesting to see whether or not we get back around. I mean, what happens after he saves Deidre Miro? Does he go back home and live with mom? Does he get his own place? Does he make it into the ISB? And what impact does that have on his relationship?
Is Mama mad at her for being a part of all that? Like, yeah, and just not doing the job that she had planned for him to do.
Walking out on it. Walking out on it.
But I also feel like Marva chose Cassian.
Yeah.
Edie did what was expected of her and had Cyril, and there's no real love there. Yeah. Like, you're a reflection of me, not your own personality. You are a reflection of me. You represent me. You are my good name, so don't screw this up.
Right. And you better make the family look good too, because you're
all that matters.
Sure didn't, right?
Yeah. And you see the people of Ferrix have such high regard for Marva already that no matter what Cassian did, it did not make Marva look bad in the slightest. It was on him. So it's the total polar opposite between these two moms.
Whereas Edie's constantly, looking out her door and worrying about who's the neighbors watching. Did they see my son come back in here?
Oh yeah, she's like the number one nosy neighbor on Coruscant. I bet she got so many phone calls to the guards down there, the HOA of Coruscant.
on the lower mids, right? The lower mid levels, right?
She's probably the president. So another comparison, Mrs. Kravitz, absolutely, Jeff. Total Mrs. Kravitz. She's like peeking in between the blinds. She's like peeking through the peephole. Who's in my hallway? Yeah, she is that lady. But the other two that we can compare this week is Deidre Muro and Bix Colleen. Yeah, two women on opposite ends of the spectrum. doing their best for their prospective agencies. Deidre being an ISB agent and doing his best to look for this Canary man, and Bix being kind of her own little piece of the rebellion by using the radio tower
One of
and
Lucian's
getting
contacts. Yeah, one of his little, what's the word they use? Those little, I can't think of it. And it's a spy term. It's when you have your little contacts out of the field. You have your pawns. Your little pieces that you can use and move around. I think Sherlock Holmes had a particular, his homeless network. He called them a certain thing. I can't remember what it was called. But I also thought it. Exactly. Yeah. Your little you reuse, expendable pieces out there to get you what you want. They're both also very much kind of cogs in a larger machine, right? And I thought it was interesting they kind of switched places at the beginning of the show, because I feel like in episode 1, Bix kind of had it together. She has a salvage yard that is doing very well on a salvage planet. There's got to be a lot of competition for that, right?
Oh yeah.
And she's in charge. She's the owner. She's making a good deal. She's got these contacts, with this Shadow Rebellion out here, and she's got a guy. It's not Cassian, and so she feels like she's pretty much in control and she's on top of things. Whereas we see Deidre is kind of trying to get up to that point to where she feels like
she feels unheard.
She's made it. Yeah, she's in the ISB, but she's struggling, and I feel like they sort of do a weird little yin yang kind of thing. We definitely see Bix take a hard fall as the episodes go on.
Yeah, when Bix is captured and tortured by her, it was probably the hardest thing that I've had to watch in Star Wars, because okay, it's different than Han Solo screaming behind a closed door and saying they didn't even ask me any questions. Like this is full psychological torture, and just for knowing Cassian.
I struggle the worst with, and this was probably by far one of the most frightening ones for me to have to deal with. It bothered me for days afterwards.
Yeah.
I finally got to the point where I just had to really make myself stop thinking about it. I'm like, no, I don't want to know what she was listening to. I'm not going to try to imagine it. I really don't want to know. I don't want to know.
You have these two women who go above and beyond for their prospective agencies. Like Bix, like you said, putting Cassian in contact with a buyer who ultimately plugs Cassian into a greater network of rebellion.
Putting it all on the line.
Just so she's part of that, and Deidre's trying to go behind ISB's back and figure out what Cassian's endgame is, and who is this man? What is he doing? Why does everybody want to get him? And
she's so frustrated with the network, with the system of the ISB, because they're not seeing below the surface, right? They're just,
and that's what connects her with Cyril, because Cyril's like, oh, they don't understand me either. Like we can do this together, and she's like, I work alone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, she doesn't trust anybody, right?
Absolutely,
she doesn't trust anybody, and I think Bix was the opposite, because she had a whole community that she trusted, including Cassian and Marva, and Tim, bastard, betrayed her in the worst possible way with the worst possible outcome for everyone.
So he let his jealousy,
Tim
let his jealousy of Bix's connection with Cassian and Andor get out of line and involved the Primor, and it ultimately ended up Bix being hurt and Tim being shot because he came to her rescue. And it's like, you did this. You are dead because of yourself.
I keep telling my kids that. I was like, it's one of my favorite Firefly quotes, when Jane betrays them and he's like, Mal's like, you called the feds, you called the cops. And he's like, what are you talking about? I got pinched. I got picked up. I got in trouble. And he's like, which is what happens when you call the feds. This is what happens. You call the cops, you're going to end up paying for it every time.
Yeah.
And both of them who did that on Ferrix both paid the ultimate price. One was an accident with the building collapsing, and one was, getting shot in the line of fire. But I think that Bix was really, truly, shocked by that. I think she felt really, truly betrayed. She said a really interesting line in a podcast interview that she did, that she talks about there's a difference between the love of your life and a love for your life. She's like, Tim was good for her. He was there, he was steady, he was available, he was part of the community. It was good for her to have a relationship with him. And even though she was kind of like, well, hey, maybe we can just hang out and have fun, you know?
Yeah, she's kind of stringing him along a little bit and taking advantage of his
I kind of wonder if like he's
for
started to figure out he's just the consolation prize. He's just a plan B, right? And can't feel good
it's what triggers him. It's what triggers him to call them and report Cassian, and it's just like, bro.
Yeah. So I don't know. She was definitely an interesting character to try to figure out. She's like, oh no, only once or twice a week. That's the only time we get together. And I'm like, it seems a little rigid for a relationship. But
yeah, especially if you're like working together. But it's like, I don't know.
I think he just wasn't patient enough to give her time to figure it out. Not when Cassian came back, but
yeah. And
poor Deidre, like, I don't think that she has any romantic inclinations. Like
none.
Like
I think she's gonna end up using him.
Well, I think Cyril's interest in her just like freaks her out. I think she just like short circuit. She's like, ew, what? No, what?
Yeah, John absolutely nails it. The creepy stalker vibe is so there.
Yeah. And I think that, she's absolutely not going to be the kind of character that's going to like fall in love and turn to the good side or whatever. Like, I think she's in it to win it. She's in it hardcore.
Yeah. And she's an ISP agent for a reason. Like, she's good at finding stuff out. She's good at her job, and I think she'll use Cyril to find stuff out.
Yeah, and I think she's very dedicated to being in control. I don't know that she's like I wouldn't say like a true devout believer in the Empire. None of that kind of stuff. I think it just I think she sees it as a way to get ahead and get recognized, right? I mean, she's in a very male dominated field where people are trying to belittle her, gaslight her.
Seriously. Yeah,
take credit for her work, dismiss her, and she finally sees a way to get ahead with this whole Cassian Andor thing, which I just found
and then just torturing Bix to get information on Cassian. Like, we see these two women come head to head, and she's a tough nut to crack. But when, weeks of this stuff, days of this stuff, it's just insane.
Yeah, you have to wonder, do you think Bix told him everything? I mean, what was she? Yeah,
I think she told him enough.
Right? Yeah,
but
did she keep anything back? I don't think she could have. I really don't. I don't know how anybody. I mean, her poor neighbor didn't survive that, right? Like, he didn't survive at all. Yeah.
And I liked him too. I was like, oh, he's such a cool character. He's very cool. He's part of it. Him and his son. No.
Well, and then basically his son went through what Cassian went through in losing his dad because of the Empire. It's just this constant, perpetual
snowball
cycle of abuse. Yeah.
Right.
I will say that's probably one of the most fascinating things about characters like Deidre Miro is that it makes it difficult for me to wrap my head around how can you be that cruel? How can you literally just shut off that part of your brain that recognizes another human being?
Do you think we'll get to see more about her past in this season 2, or just maybe like a little bit more?
I don't know. I'm really curious. I read an interview with her where she was just gushing over the writing and how much she enjoyed it and how much she loved working with Tony. And she said that she was, he was talking to her about something in season 2 in a particular scene. And he was like, what do you think? And she was like, sure. Yeah, look, whatever. He's like, no. Don't say whatever. And she's like, no, I don't mean I don't care. She's like, I just know whatever you're going to give me is going to be gold. She's like, it'll be fine. I trust you that much what you're doing. So she was like, it was impeccable. She was an Irish stage actress, and actually where Tony saw her was on the stage and was like, he went through and he handpicked people. Apparently the Deidre and Cyril and Edie Karn were all things that there was some stuff that it was kind of just a rough outline and they wanted to flesh out. He had like this whole thing done and he pegged each of these actors for those roles. She was like, I'm not really sure what that says about us, but there you go. So.
Like, do you think I'm an uptight crazy bitch. Yeah,
Right?
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, just vicious, just cold-blooded ice queen,
Yeah, but
ruthless, you
I
know?
I
It's
find like some of the best people, and this is from years of going to conventions and meeting people who have been in horror movies. Like they'll play absolute psychopaths, like killers, like slashers, whatever, and they are the nicest people on the planet. So to
nice
be able to
people.
get to
Nice
that
people.
depth, like choice acting all the way.
Yes.
So, and I definitely think Kyle and Denise have definitely gone above and beyond to be just as despicable
Mhm.
as possible and as uptight and I don't want to say bitchy, but as bitchy as possible on screen and just
Just
nail these
ruthless.
characters.
Just ruthless. I don't know how she
Yeah.
does it. And I still don't despise her. Like I find myself being
Oh
drawn into
no.
this character like
Mark Von
Edie
Olin
gets
is
under my
Team
skin.
Deidre all the way. He needs that
That's
in a
funny.
shirt.
She just irritates me. Like kind of
Yeah.
want something bad to happen to her because I just find her a very grating person and I'm not rooting for her at all. Deidre, like there's some small part of me. I want the rebellion to win, but I want to see her take those ISB something bad name persons down, you know? Like I want to
Yeah.
see I want to see
Get
him get
her
taken
come
down a
up
peg or
for
two.
them, but I want to see her
Mhm.
go down. So
Yeah, yeah.
oh no, she's terrible. She needs to go down.
No, she's crazy.
Yeah.
She needs to go down. Uncle
It's
Iroh
an
of the
Uncle
West.
Iroh. We love it.
Yeah, high five. Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, a lot of Avatar stuff happening lately. So it was in my brain. Um, it's
Fantastic. So, any predictions on what you think is going to happen to these three characters that are left for season 2? Any thoughts?
ooh, I think I think Cyril is going to kind of stay at the job for a little bit.
Okay.
I think him kind of being a hero at the rebellion is going to
Mhm.
be a little bit of like, okay, you saved an ISB agent and you evacuated them from a crazy, chaotic
Mhm.
riot that you caused. But nobody needs to know that.
Ah,
But I think it's gonna kind of extend him a little bit and kind of get him in Edie's good graces a little more. And
okay.
I don't want to say because you haven't seen any like footage yet,
Oh,
but
sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
like
Okay, that was unfair.
Cyril's looking a little more dapper than he normally is. So I'm
Okay.
guessing he's in good with
Starts
whatever
moving
new
up.
job he
Starts moving
has.
up a bit.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's progressed in the world.
Okay.
Whether it's related to that or not, we'll find out. And I think
Be
Edie's
curious.
happy
Be
for a
curious.
while. Um,
Okay.
but I don't think it stops her from being an absolute
No,
pain
it's
in
not
the
going to get any
ass.
better. No,
Yeah,
I have to agree with that one. Definitely. Definitely.
sure. Um, do you think that being tortured and like last time we see Bix is they've rescued her, they're getting her out of there, everything is
Yeah.
going sideways on Ferrex. Um, do you think that Bix's recovery from being tortured is going to kind of lead to her like complete I don't give a fuck attitude from here on out? Like we see snippets of it, but yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sherry said
I'm
Cyril's hair made her laugh. Yeah, it'll make you laugh too. It's funny. It's very Elvis.
awesome.
Yeah,
Elvis. Oh,
so
that's
Elvis.
awesome. I
Yeah.
can't wait. Yeah, I think we've kind of reached a point, I would say, with Bix that she literally has nothing left to lose. She
Mm,
lost her business. She lost her boyfriend. Cassian's, I mean, as far as she knows, at least at the end of it, Cassian's disappeared, right? Marva's dead. Ferrex is a disaster. And she's almost lost her mind to psychological torture. Um, if she survives, which I'm assuming she does because they talk about her in season 2. And so the fact that she has survived, um, I think you're absolutely right.
I
I
love it.
think that it's going to just make her tough as nails at this point and willing to do anything because she's got nothing left to lose. Might as well go down swinging, kind of thing.
I want her to be like Vel and Cinta and just being like everything for the cause kind of thing. Like kind of listen
Yeah, I
to
could see
Lupin.
her being more Cinta than Vel.
Yeah.
Like, I think Vel still kind of wants the happily ever after. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Pix ends up being that true believer of the rebellion. Everything else is second. That comes first, and I'll do whatever it takes.
And her and Cassian have that in common right now. Like they've both lost everything.
Yeah.
And all they have is each other. So I'm hoping that
Mhm.
kind of gives them something to lean on and something to drive them forward in this next
Hopefully.
season. These
Hopefully
next
it
4
doesn't drive
years.
them apart. Yeah, these next 4
Yeah.
years, it could definitely drive them apart too, you know?
Oh my God.
That
Can you imagine if she turned on him?
that level of grief between people can kind of, it makes me think of Saw Gerrera, when he lost his sister. It can kind of start to push people in opposite directions. It can bring you closer
Good
together,
point.
but it could also, or if one or the other of them starts to go more radical, then you have that disagreement of how far is too far,
Yeah.
So there could be a lot of really interesting twists and turns. I'm really curious to see where it's going to go.
Oh my gosh. So imagine having this all written out and you have this end game. You've seen the end game and just fitting the puzzle pieces in up until that point is just like it's got to be the most exciting thing in the world because this is like top-notch Star Wars in my humble opinion.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. Absolutely.
But
There's something that's
having
really satisfying about knowing where the end is, when the
yeah.
show is open-ended and you don't know, maybe there'll be another season, maybe there won't be. What is now that it's literally going to be him walking into that alley leading to the beginning of Rogue One. Yeah, it's really fun. This is the kind of stuff I really like, seeing how all pieces slot and slide together. And Django has done such an expert job of that with both Rogue One and the first season of Andor. I think, yeah, I've got really high expectations for season 2.
It's so exciting.
And hopefully lots of more and continued fabulous women characters, because we need all those in Star Wars. More.
Yeah. It can't hurt. Like really, like we're having so much fun with this and it's just been and like it's kind of given like we live in these unprecedented times and things are kind of giving us hope.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean. So it's just kind of like it's holding up a mirror to our society as well. And having these mothers who are willing to do everything good or bad for their sons. And these other two women who are willing to do anything for each sides of their cause, telling you, it's all going to come to a head.
Yeah, it absolutely
I'm
is.
kinda
And I think
scared.
now more than ever, we all need to see ourselves reflected. All genders, all races. The more we see of ourselves in these kind of shows, the more it's going to resonate in our own lives. So, definitely.
So, yeah, I cannot wait.
Fantastic.
So, next time, our next show, we'll dive into some more women from Andor.
Yep, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. There's a lot going on in the VCN in the meantime.
Yeah. The run up to Celebration is happening, fast and furious.
I'm excited for you guys. The FOMO is real, but honestly,
Yeah,
everyone's gonna have the best time. You guys aren't going to Japan, are you?
No.
Oh,
No.
yay!
That was
I'm not alone.
that was never even in the possibilities. No.
Yeah.
Between kids going to college and husband retiring and trying to find a place to live, and we looked at the nope.
It's a lot happening.
Sadly, it's a dream. It's a dream of ours. It would have been really, really fun and amazing, to do it around a Star Wars thing. But it was like, no, I need like 5 more years to save before I can pull this off.
Yeah. The hope is that the next one is stateside, so we're just kind of
fingers crossed. We've only ever been to one, so I'd love to go.
Oh my gosh, which one did you go to?
2019, Chicago.
Oh, yay! I was there.
That's actually when we first. Yeah, is when we actually first stumbled across the Star Wars group. I was looking for help because we just bought tickets for Saturday because we lived about 4 hours away, so we were just going to drive up. And I was looking for help, and I found this one. And then that, after COVID hit, started to evolve into the VCN. So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's been so awesome.
Good.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Voice is bad
All right.
today. Yep, I'm good. I'm trying
Okay, good.
navigating these buttons. So we also have our not so virtual cantina after party. We have the graphic.
Yeah.
There it is, the hyperspace ticket. So the not so virtual cantina special edition is sold out, but at the door there is a hyperspace ticket. When one person leaves for the night, it's $50 for you. You get in. It's open bars. Excuse me. It does not include the swag or the food, but it gets you into the party, so you get to be a part of it. So it's first come,
Karaoke,
first
the
serve.
block, a chance to maybe meet and greet anybody who's still there for the evening. People can start lining up before 7 p.m. if they have a hyperspace ticket.
I believe all the guests are going to be there the entire event. Is what
that's fantastic. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
If you come in late, you're not going to miss anybody unless some, issue arose that they had to leave. The likelihood is they're going to be there still, available for you to say hi to and, get autographs and photos with, as well as partaking in the other things like Sarah just mentioned. So, but no swag bag, and you don't get the all-you-can-eat buffet that is part of the regular ticket. So that's what you get with a discount. And once somebody leaves, if they're not coming back, they will give up their wristband and somebody else will be able to get it and come in and or get one and come in and enjoy their time there in that.
Oh, that's a really neat way to get more
eyes
in the party. And it's $50 by PayPal or Venmo at the door. So it's first come, first serve. So make sure you're there if you want to be a part of it. Special thanks to It's Thursday night, April 17th. Thank you to Hyperspace Props for sponsoring the event. Make sure you play Sabacc with everybody. It's a fun game.
Yeah, it's fun. It's addictive. You can go home with your own set.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you did. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yep.
This week on the VCN, we have the Thursday night watch along tomorrow night. So you're doing
Andor,
the next episode of Andor.
Yeah. Get caught
up. Yeah, we'll have
a
special guest Warren Proul that doubled for Ewan in Obi-Wan Kenobi and portrayed any number of different troopers or different factions in the many of the shows. He's been in a lot of stuff, and he was at our Scum and Villainy event. So it will be cool to have him on the show and talk to him about what he thought about Andor. He wasn't in Andor, but he does. He's in a lot of the other shows, and he, again, like all of us, is a fan. So hear his thoughts on that and the process in general will be very cool.
Yeah, and it's good to hear like someone who's been at work behind the scenes of making these things just be a part of it, and like can be a completely unfettered part of it. So that'll be really cool. Let's see. Sunday we have. Sorry, I have the list here, and I'm terrible.
I can't remember. I don't have the graphic handy.
I will look right now. Sorry, guys. I have been in my bed for the last few days. So
recovery
is so crazy. Sorry. I'm scrolling.
Yeah, let me see if I can track it down.
Oh, here we go. Sorry. The Unifying Force is a new episode on Sunday at 11 a.m. with Kat and Gio and Dave. And, they'll be delving into some really deep stuff. And then join us on Monday for a new episode of Clone Wars Revisited. We're starting season 2, y'all. Yeah. So we're going to be doing a recap of season 1 and just kind of discussing everything that went on in season 1 and just kind of gearing up to go into season 2 next week. So it's not really a watch along episode this week. It's more of a discussion. So please join us in the chats. We know you will because you love us. And we're still trying to decide if we want to start the micro series before we delve into season 2. I say yes, because that's fun as hell. Like I love Jenny.
It is quite a trip. It's quite a trip. As someone who actually watched it when it was released and actually has the DVDs, it's really fun to go back and look at it now and be like,
yeah, it's pretty violent. It's short, but it's violent.
It's very different in reality than the way it lived in my mind. I was like,
sure.
that was a lot different than I remembered.
Yeah, like
they're quick, they're fast. You can get to them lickety split.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. So yeah, that's our schedule in the VCN the week ahead, and yes to micro series. Sherry says yes.
Woo.
We will not make you watch the Clone Wars movie again because we've already done that. As much as I love Stinky, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna do the micro series, so we'll let you know when we start that. But yeah, thank you so much again, Sarah, for joining us, and Jeff for producing.
Absolutely, thanks for having me. I appreciate you behind the scenes there, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and I cannot wait for next time. It's gonna be get into the meat and potatoes of the rebellion. So please like, share, subscribe, and bells for notifications. Make sure you do. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on our socials. We're always there, and yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yep. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So until then, may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.